Oh boy. Oh no. Is this what I think it is?
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo?
Man.
As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those
She was only 130 years old back then.
Who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status for several reasons that I'd like to go into now. I'd like to call the attention of our colleagues to this chart on the status quo that the
Man, that's crazy. Another chart. This chart reminds me of another chart I've seen recently. So this is a while ago.
The business community is asking each and every one of you each and every one of us to endorse today. Right now, we have a $34 billion trade deficit with China.
That's a lot.
The 1995 figure. It will be over $40 billion for 1996.
Let's see what it's at right now. How many money? So now, so it was then, it's, what's the number here? It says 34 billion. And it says that now it's 295 billion. Okay, so it went up. Yeah, it went up.
Since the Tiananmen Square massacre, this figure has increased 1,000%, from $3.5 billion then to about $34 billion now. In terms of tariffs, I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%.
That's crazy.
Is that reciprocal? On exports, China only allows certain industries into China, of U.S. Industries into China, and therefore only 2% of U.S. exports are allowed into China.
Where have I heard this before?
On the other hand, the U.S. allows China to flood
cotton 480p.
Our markets with a third of their exports, and that'll probably go over 40%. And it's limitless because we have not placed any restriction. In terms of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. Not only do we not have market access, not only do they have prohibitive tariffs, not only are our exports not let in very specifically.
She's getting mad.
But China benefits with at least 10 million jobs from U.S.-China trade.
Wow.
The president in his statement requesting this special waiver said that China trade supports 170,000 jobs in the United States. 170,000 jobs. Whereas,
what a ratio.
Our imports from China support 10 million jobs at least. Fact is that U.S.-China trade is a job loser. And one of the reasons that it is because well, first let me just make another point, and that is that our colleagues on the other side of this issue will say the trade with China, exports to China have increased 3 times in the last 10 years. They have. But they fail to mention that imports from China have increased 11 times, thereby leading to this huge trade deficit. The other issue, in addition, if intellectual property is a $2 billion, $3 billion loss, technology transfer is in the hundreds of billions of dollars.
This is so fucking funny for me to watch. Yeah, this is really funny. This isn't AI, and now she's against it? A lot of people are.
If you want to sell to China, your products into China, the Chinese insist that you open a factory there. They misappropriate your technology, open factories of their own, and then say to you, now we want to see your plan for export. That's as simply as I can say it briefly. But the fact is, this isn't about products made in America. The Chinese want American products that are made in China. And the most serious of these transfers of technology are in the airline industry, where Boeing tail sections.
Bro, doesn't Trump bring this shit up too? Even about the airplanes? Because it's like the military aircraft and shit. Oh my God. This is so fucking funny.
The Boeing 737s were mostly made in Wichita, Kansas. Now they are made in Shen province, where workers make $50 a month. And they had the transfer of the technology and the transfer of the jobs has taken place.
Man.
General Motors, Ford, they're all fighting to get in to build factories there so they can make parts there. They want MFN so they can get those parts.
How did this happen? I really don't know. That's crazy.
Back into the United States.
What the fuck happened? I don't know.
We are exporting not low-tech jobs and textile jobs. We're exporting our technology. Now, if you take a country the size of China with the very cheap, and in some instances, slave labor, the lack of market access, the rip-off of our intellectual property, the transfer of technology, a country that is not willing to play by the rules in any respect in this trade relationship, you have a serious threat not only to our relationship, but to the industrialized world. And if there's one message that I want our colleagues to understand today and our constituents is that on this day, your member of Congress could have drawn the line to say to the President of the United States, do something about this U.S.-China trade relationship that is a job loser for the United States.
Yeah.
And this brings us to the point that others have said, well, we can't isolate China. Do you think for 1 minute that with 10 million jobs at least and $35 billion and be over $40 billion this year in a trade surplus?
Where'd she go wrong? I don't know how this shift happened either. I think it happened after... So this is what I think happened. I think after Occupy Wall Street, there was an intentional injection of identity politics into the Democratic Party, and it shifted the values of the Democratic Party away from workers' rights and working in the best interest of, average Americans, and it shifted it from that into working in the best interest of different identity groups. And I think that I believe also that this was intentional, and I think it was a conspiracy. I think that a lot of the elites got scared of Occupy Wall Street, and after that, they started pushing a lot more identity politics to keep people distracted with them so they don't look at the actual people that are taking all the money, which are the people that are on Wall Street, that have all the stocks, that are in the 1%. So I think that's what's happened. 9/11 also added on top of that? Yeah. And so, confused the issues. Yes, they did confuse the issues a lot. And I think the Democratic Party got hijacked by the, like special interests and things like that after Occupy Wall Street. And I think that was the real turning point.
All those billions of dollars in surplus that the Chinese are going to walk away. Where are they going to take 35 to 40% of their exports? Who's going to buy them? This is what sustains the regime. The funding and the jobs. They can't have those people out of work. They have to be at work exporting to the United States.
Mm-hmm. I think she brings up some great points. She does. Yep, true.
Further, what they have said is that we need to not worry about manufacturing in America.
Still, how many years has this guy been 80? This guy's been 80 for fucking 50 years.
Because what we should establish is a policy of unfettered free trade. We don't need tariffs. What we need is to allow corporate America the freedom to throw American workers out on the street, people who are making 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour, health care, pensions, throw them out on the street because somehow, Madam President, we are going to create wealth in America and good paying jobs in America as we shut down plants, we move to China. corporations.
He was right. He was right about everything. Everything that he said was going to happen, happened.
There, pay workers 20, 30 cents an hour, and we bring the product back into this country. And anyone who goes shopping in a mall knows how difficult it is today to find the product made in America. But that is the philosophy. And I have to say, in that regard, the champion, and he is honest on this one. Senator McCain has been criticized recently for not being the most honest candidate we have seen in terms of his ads and so forth. He has been honest on this one. He is the lead advocate of unfettered free trade. And that's an also important part of this right-wing ideology, that it is good for America that corporations can go to China and bring products back into this country.
How the fuck did this get shifted? This is crazy. Literal 180, yes. They delayed for too long. China manipulated their currency. They've been doing that for a long time, as far as I know. Yeah, but now you have to deal with the reality of 2025, and solutions from 2008 are not viable anymore. In some cases, I think you're right. Not in this one. I think this is a general reality. Uh-oh.
When it comes to the international system of commerce and trade, it's legitimate for poorer countries to continue to seek access to wealthier markets. And by the way, wealthier markets, that's not the big problem that you're having. A small African country is sending you tea and flowers. That's not your biggest economic challenge. It's also proper for advanced economies like the United States to insist on reciprocity.
Man.
Nations like China that are no longer solely poor countries, to make sure that they're providing access to their markets and that they stop taking intellectual property and hacking our servers.
Man. There's a lot of these, huh? You mean reciprocal tariffs? Yeah, I guess so, bro. What happened? I don't know.
What would you do differently, Donald?
1988. Okay? This is before I was even fucking born. 37 years ago.
What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share.
37 fucking years he's been waiting to do this. Man.
We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets.
That's right. See, look at all the Nintendo Switches that they have here. What the hell are they thinking they can do?
It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here.
See, this is another thing, is that there's a lot of like systematic things that make selling products in other markets and economies harder to do. And they're not just explicitly tariffs, but they function as tariffs. And I think that that's like probably another part of the messaging that's getting left out. And I'm not talking about the VAT.
They sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beat.
He still says this shit. He even said that about, he's like, Shinzo, I know, like, that's, you were getting us, and I know you were getting us. It's okay.
The hell out of this country.
Yeah.
Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know.
Man. That's crazy. How about that?
People have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not. but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really...
Man. Then Obama humiliated him at the dinner and history was made? That's right. Yep.
There's a vicious rumor floating around that I think could really hurt Mitt Romney. I heard he passed universal health care when he was governor of Massachusetts. Someone should get to the bottom of that. And I know just the guy to do it. Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing?
Man.
What really happened in Roswell? And
what's crazy is that he actually did go and declassify the documents for JFK. The funniest thing is everybody's laughing about this, but he did it. Yeah.
There are Biggie and Tupac.
That, you know what? Actually, oh, that's a really... Whatever happened with Tupac? Yeah, what's the FBI files on Tupac? Because nobody knows what the fuck happened there. I feel like this is a big deal. People say it was Diddy. They say it was Suge Knight. You know, I don't know. But we got to look into this.
All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no, seriously, just recently in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night.
Man. Man. If only they knew. That was 14 years ago? Yep. Thanks, Obama. I know. This was in 2011. That's fucking hilarious. Oh my God. And watch Obama saying Trump is never going to be president. I've seen that too. Why does Obama, the president, watching reality TV instead of fixing a country? Well, I mean, come on. Everybody needs a chance to relax. I mean, what the fuck? He can't watch TV at all? I mean, you can have it on in the background while you're signing something. It's like he's going to forget how to sign his name. Chill the fuck out, man. Yeah, watch it live. Watch the Oprah interview. I mean, I've seen a lot of the other ones, right? Read the comments. The comments are turned off. I wonder why. Yep, there we go. And what is this here? Watching else in the background working right now? Yes, exactly. And it's just crazy how this has all happened. It really is. It's funny for me to see this too. But yeah, it seems like also we just saw this one before. And is this Oh, this is him riding around. This is him golfing right now. Okay, I got it. And I had a breakthrough call with a leader of Communist Party. Wait, Vietnam's communist? I didn't even know that. Who told me Vietnam wants to cut their tariffs down to zero if they make an agreement to the U.S. I thanked them on behalf of our country, and I said I look forward to meeting in the near future. Damn. Damn, okay. Yeah, he's on break, bro. He's golfing the stock market. Yeah.
Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Albert.
He's just been doing this for a long time, which is fucking crazy. And let's see if there's anything else. Oh, this is...
Yesterday, President Trump declared that it was, in fact, Liberation Day. His giant tariff policy that he just dropped on the market unilaterally, probably unconstitutionally. Trump's reciprocal tariffs impose hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes on Americans, be the largest tax increase since the Revenue Act of 1968. One of the biggest tax increases on American consumers in the history of America. And it's going to cost American consumers. It will cost American producers who use inputs from other countries. The Dow...
It does keep getting bigger. I didn't believe the memes. But it does. Like, that's crazy. Why?
Jones Industrial Average plummeted immediately more than 1,000 points. The S&P 500 plummeted more than 3%. The NASDAQ plummeted almost 4.5%. There are real-world implications for this sort of stuff. Trade wars are, in fact, not good and not easy to win, particularly if you don't actually have a plan. Mm-hmm. It is predicated on a bad idea of how international trade works. A fundamental misunderstanding of trade deficits. Trade deficits they're an accounting procedure. Trade deficits have pretty much nothing to do with the health of an economy. I can name you a period in American history where there was a fairly large surplus in America's balance of trade. The entire Great Depression.
Oh. So this is the reason a lot of people have noted, like, the Daily Wire is laying a lot of people off. And I think one of the big reasons why a lot of these, like, traditional spaces like this are having problems communicating with the public is because they've become they've effectively become the authoritarian ruling class. And I think what happens with a lot of people, and this is what happens with politicians too, is that politicians initially go into a job, and I think media, this is the same thing that happens, is that they initially go into the poll. Yeah, exactly. It's a good poll, right? And so they go into the media and they have good intentions, but over time they become the norm, right? The average. And so I'm not voting on that one. Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like the reason why people like Ben Shapiro, like, apparently they're having to fire people and they're losing relevance, is because this messaging doesn't resonate with the average person. And the average person that's looking to consume media on the internet isn't looking to hear about, like, a top-down perspective of, like, the 1% ideas of the stock market. That's the reason why. I'm an average American. I don't care. Yeah, exactly. And but he's not wrong. I think that you can be right and still lose. Like, winning, like, being right doesn't mean that you're going to win. Now, usually it does, but it doesn't always mean that. How long until Republicans mutiny against Trump when they start losing a lot of their money? I think that will only happen if they lose control of the narrative to the public. Because if the public feels like, basically, the important thing for them to do is to make sure that they have a consistency of making the public believe that it's hurting the upper class more than it's hurting the working class. As long as you can maintain that perspective and people think that, they will be okay with the tariffs and they'll be okay with the stock markets going down. So that's it. When Trump seizes when Trump seizes your funds, will your opinion change? Let me ask you something. What do you mean by that? So like, do you think he's gonna, like, go into my bank account and then, like, delete the money from my bank account and then put it in his bank account? Like, what do you mean by this? That was a joke? Okay. All right, let's move on. There's a lot of people that say stupid shit and they're not joking, so I'm not sure. Yeah, but the only person who wins is Trump. U.S. citizens will lose. Yeah, I mean, sure. But, like, I'm just telling you, like, that's the way that people will see it. That's it. Like, I don't know what else to say. And I'll see if there's anything else to look at and find here. And, man, it is pretty fucking crazy to see this happen. Especially, like, how extreme it is. Do you see a drama over Schedule 1 developer being sued by studio? No, I didn't see that at all. And, bro, it's always Trump is going to make the rich richer, and now he's going to take your money. You got baited is actually wild. Well, I didn't get baited. The guy just said something stupid, and I reacted to it. That's not even my fault. That's not getting baited, right? That's just how it is. So, yes. Let me see if I find a few more of these.
Down about 8% those problems, but what's also indisputable is the markets are down about 8% in just 2 days, and I'm getting all kinds of reaction from businesses, farmers in Wisconsin that are highly concerned about what's happening. So those are the facts. I don't know, all I can really do is kind of report the reality to the administration, let them know, how these these actions are impacting my constituents, those problems.
Yep. That's right. It'll be awful for farmers. Yeah, Trump's also trying to tank the 10-year treasury with us needing to refinance $11 trillion in debt. Well, I'm not sure about that. And yeah, I haven't even read about that, I didn't even hear about that. I have no idea. Like, it's the first time hearing of it. Stocks tanking won't hurt the richest as much. They have money managers who will make money whether stocks go up or down. It's the middle class who will get hurt. Yeah, but the problem, here's the issue, is that the middle class is a lot smaller and higher up than you might imagine. So, like, that's really the difference, is that you have a lot of working class people that have felt disenfranchised, and these tariffs will create that effect. And I think that it will negatively affect them in that way. Let me go back. I'll see if there's any more of these that are worth looking at.
What I find so frustrating about the conversation around tariffs is that we all agree on the problem. We all agree that the deindustrialization of America led to the downward mobility of the American working class, deaths of despair, people working multiple jobs and not being able to afford the American dream. We all agree that it is deeply unfair for the American middle class to be bearing the burden of unfair tariffs from other countries. We all agree that it is great for the president to have leverage in order to demand reasonable things, like that countries stop allowing fentanyl to murder 100,000 Americans every year, and that Mexico do its part to police its own border. And yet when somebody has the courage to show up and say to Wall Street, screw you, I am waging war, I'm waging class warfare on behalf of the American working class.
Damn, she said it. Wow, that's right. That's right.
And you elites in Wall Street, you do what you need to do, because I'm not going to stop fighting for the American working class. Suddenly, everybody is sitting around going, oh no, the stock market. Yeah, the stock market looks like that because the rich are punishing Trump for siding with the neglected and humiliated American working class over them. We have all—
I think the humiliated part is really important. It's what I was mentioning before about the dignity thing. Is that people feel like they don't have dignity to live lives in a way that they feel comfortable and confident in. And because of that, it's caused them to have like a deep-seated like resentment of like the, like any powers that be are wrong, basically. It's burning down the system.
Already seen these tariffs work, Pierce. The number of people crossing the southern border is at 0. Fentanyl
is at 1.
Is at record lows for the last 10 years.
How that happened.
We have already seen $1.2 trillion in manufacturing invested in this.
Do you personally buy the idea that the admin is waging class warfare in favor of the working class? No, I think Trump is just. I think Trump is doing what Trump always does, which is destabilize things to a degree where nobody knows what's happening, and then take advantage of the chaos. I think that's what he's doing.
Country since January 21st. So they have already worked. Now, how long is Wall Street going to keep trying to punish this president for standing the American working class? I don't know, but I can tell you that the view from the street is people cannot believe that there is a president who is working for them, who is putting them first and telling Wall Street to go screw itself. Wall Street, which picked the Democrats for the last 3 election cycles in a row. That's what the real story is.
Yeah, the reason why Wall Street picks Democrats is because Democrats can control young people by fixating them on identity issues and keeping them away from class warfare. And that happened after again, Occupy Wall Street. That was the big shift, and that's why Democrats support, they get a lot of support from Wall Street. It's because it's the best, misdirection that's out there.